Good morning, everyone. My name is Nouf and today I will be presenting with my partner.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jana and today my partner and I will be presenting what is mass hysteria.
So today we'll be going over a brief introduction of mass hysteria, symptoms, cases, causes, mass hysteria today, and a summary. Humans have long been described as the most elevated species and the most intelligent in almost every sense, but you would be surprised to learn just how bizarrely ordinary happenings can affect us in unspeakable ways and alter our opinion of humans' overall intellect. From dancing and prancing until we drop for no apparent reason, to almost mutating ourselves by developing skin rashes with our minds, this peculiar phenomenon is called mass hysteria, or mass psychogenic illness. It has been defined as a constellation of symptoms that are suggestive of organic illness, but without an identifiable cause, that occurs between two or more people who share beliefs that are related to those symptoms. And rather than being viewed as a collection of people suffering from individual hysteria, mass hysteria is instead seen as a social phenomenon involving otherwise healthy people. And as for the symptoms, I will be passing over to my partner, Jenna.
What makes this illness the phenomenon it is its rather inexplicable and strange symptoms, as there is no plausible organic basis. There are two main types of symptoms: psychological symptoms and physical symptoms. Some of the most common psychological symptoms are anxiety, nervousness, irritability, and agitation, while some examples of physical symptoms are shortness of breath, fainting, insomnia, and seizures. British psychiatrist Simon Wesley distinguished mass psychogenic illness and divided the symptoms into two types: mass anxiety hysteria and mass motor hysteria, in which mass anxiety hysteria consists of episodes of acute anxiety, occurring mainly in school children. Prior tension is usually absent, and the rapid spread is by visual contact, while mass motor hysteria consists of abnormalities in motor behavior. It occurs in any age group and prior tension is present. Initial cases can be identified and the spread is gradual. The outbreak may be prolonged. This chart is an excerpt of the reported symptoms. From 1872 to 1972, the symptoms were more motor inclined, hence its naming as the period with more symptoms of a motor variant. Whereas, in the second period from 1973 to 1993, it has been described as an anxiety variant with nausea and vomiting, making up the majority of the reported symptoms with 56%. The Dancing Plague of Strasbourg. In the year 1518, the city of Strasbourg, France, was struck by a dancing plague. It began in mid-July, in the blistering summer heat. It started with a single female dancing in the streets of Strasbourg, alone, with no apparent reason. Day by day, more people joined her, and within a month there were over 400 cases reported. Dancing in the streets, with arms flailing, bodies swaying uncontrollably, they danced for days and days on end, oblivious to mounting fatigue and bruised feet, which led to many people dying on the spot. The Strasbourg City Council at that time implemented that the cure should be more dancing. They took the dancers in an open farmers' market. The citizens danced in the glaring sun, which made the symptoms even worse. and increased the death rate. Prior studies have showed that 15 dancers died per day. There have been several outbreaks in preceding centuries in cities all along the Rhine River. All of them were characterized by the same symptoms of the dancing plague, and all affected cases shared the same religious belief, which was that Saint Vitus cursed sinners by being forced to dance, which makes it a perfect example of social contagion. The psychological diagnosis of the dancing plague has been categorized under both social contagion and dissociative trance disorder, which is found in the fifth edition of Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, in which dissociative trance disorder is characterized by involuntary alterations in consciousness or memory and motor functioning that result in significant distress or impairment. It also involves a temporary loss of the sense of personal identity and full awareness of surroundings. As for the second case, I'll be passing it to my partner Nouf.
In a more recent case, we have the laughing epidemic of 1962. In 1962, a seemingly unprecedented and bizarre event took place in Tanzania, where schoolrooms of children would start laughing hysterically and inexplicably. The laughing continued on for days until schools had to be closed because they weren't functioning properly anymore. It spread to entire towns until over 30,000 people in Tanzania were infected. This epidemic went down in history as the most prolonged case of mass hysteria ever recorded. It has been noted that most cases begin with a single individual, much like the case in hand. But that doesn't necessarily apply to every case, because, in example, we have the dancing plague, where people started dancing simultaneously. The symptoms included recurring attacks of laughing and crying, and insomnia and acute anxiety, and much more. And despite the symptoms being quite real and their treatment has been delivered to them according to the symptoms, there has never been any evidence of organic causes. They even tried to find an organic cause where they drew the children's blood and sent it to Europe for inspection, but the results came back as NAD, which stands for no abnormal cause detected. Now let's explore the causes of mass hysteria. For centuries, people thought that mass hysteria is caused by a virus or a certain organic illness. But with time and the development of science, it has been discovered that its causes are rather psychological, but the manifestations of it are real and organic. In almost all cases, mass hysteria is triggered by an environmental or a religious cause, and the mode of transmission is deemed social, with the absence of a physical infectious agent responsible for contagion. An infected group of people develop this shared panic in the presence of a prior state of acute stress or shared religious belief. British psychologist Sir Simon Wesley, shown in the picture here, states that it seems clear that there is no particular predisposition to mass sociogenic illness, and it is a behavioral reaction that anyone can show in the right circumstances. For this part, I'm going to be passing over to my partner, Jana.
Mass hysteria today. People with mental health illnesses have been disregarded due to COVID-19, the pandemic, and the overcrowded hospitals. Some hospitals and health centers are prioritizing patients with organic illnesses to patients with mental problems. Patients with mental illnesses such as bipolar disorder, depression, psychotic patients, schizophrenic, and patients with all sorts of dissociative disorders face more danger during lockdown. because they are at a great risk of harming themselves due to the adversity of their mental illnesses. Which brings us to our point of how medical ethics correlate to mass hysteria. Because mass hysteria is a contemporary psychological issue where mental health patients were overlooked due to the pandemic. It can expand their chances of endangering themselves, as previously mentioned. We have faced a pandemic We have faced a panic-inducing pandemic that has left many untreated, and therefore we would like to stress the importance of admitting mental health patients and possibly building more mental health centers because it falls under the category of preservation of life. In summary, this presentation was dedicated to describing rare psychological contagious illnesses. Although the names of the diseases are seemingly cheerful, like dancing and laughing, yet these cases are practically the nervous system's reaction to acute stress. That's all for today, and thank you.
Thank you guys for listening.